Hello and welcome to K-Pop and Glitter. If you clicked on this video, then you've already seen the thumbnail and you know what's about to happen. This cup is a gift for a family member of mine, and her favorite movie is The Nightmare Before Christmas. I thought it would be fun to make a cup using this movie as a theme, and to be honest, before I even got to this stage, I really wanted to say that I spent a lot of time planning this design out in Adobe Illustrator and making sure that the dimensions would be correct for the cup. There's several layers of vinyl overlapping one another, and I did download an SVG pack from Etsy for the characters. However, I spent a great deal of time making the hills with the tombstones and the pumpkins, and I'd intended to include the Nightmare logo, but that didn't really work out. So to start off towards the top of the cup, I used a mixture of black hollow glitter from Recollections and mixed that with Marie Laveau and Desire Jr. from Mr. Nola's Glitter. I really just wanted to darken up the Marie Laveau, which has like a distinctly purple shift to it. Marie Laveau is the primary glitter of this cup, but I was trying to create an ombre effect from a darker color toward the top toward something more purple at the bottom. But I'm not entirely certain how successful I was at that. You guys can let me know what you think at the end of the video. So my primary strategy, I suppose, or my game plan with what I'm doing is I had a primary mixture of the black hollow at the top, like I just said, and then in this layer I added a little bit more Marie Laveau to the same mixture, making it just a slight bit more purple. And as you can see, I don't know how well you can see it in the video, but it is a slight bit more purple, and I'm just sort of trying to blend that in. And then once we're getting toward the bottom, I've started adding a little bit of purple craft glitter to the Marie Laveau mixture, and as you can see, it's just a tiny bit more purple, even more so. And now I'm just using really soft patting motions to flatten the glitter down, and then that way when I have to go and sand later, I won't risk sanding off any of the glitter itself. And here's a short clip of what the cup looks like at this point. As you can see, the purple is a little more pronounced toward the bottom. But even with that, I just didn't find the gradient to be dramatic enough for what I was looking for. I really wanted the sky to stand out because even after the vinyl is applied, the vast bulk of this cup is the sky, and I just didn't want it to be flat. So I had the idea to add like that Milky Way effect that you see on a lot of cups. I think it's such a beautiful effect, and personally I've actually not done one successfully yet, this cup included. So I know that I needed to add heat and let the swirls sort of go organically, and that's the beauty of it. But as I was doing this, I began to add more detail to my swirls, and I began to reference images from Tim Burton's stop motion animations and that very sort of creepy, swirly aesthetic that is found in a lot of his films. So that is the direction I decided to go to as I worked through this cup. And to be honest with you, I absolutely love the effect. I think it turned out really interesting, a lot more interesting, I think, than what I'd initially planned. And here's a clip that I took right after I finished applying all of that epoxy. And to be honest with you, it didn't really move from this state. It did not run terribly much. It looks almost exactly like it looks here. Now I know that I just said it looks just like that. Now it looks a little different. I had to sand it a bit just to make sure all the vinyl would lay flat. And so it looks a little muddled in this particular shot, but trust me, once the epoxy's back on it, that sort of goes away. The first thing I started with was the moon. It's the most striking feature of this particular cup besides the sky. And this is made out of a glow-in-the-dark vinyl that I did get off of Etsy. It's a very thick vinyl. It was extremely difficult to cut, and I had to use a cardboard setting pretty much, and our poster board setting. And I never did get it to quite lay flat, unfortunately. Using the moon as a guide, I began laying the rest of the vinyl, starting with the lightest gray, which is the furthest back. It only appears with this one hill, and it has some tombstones going across the top of it. And then following that hill came the medium gray hill, which overlapped over that and went all the way around in order to give it a really seamless look. At least that's what I was going for. Who knows if I succeeded. But this one didn't have any tombstones on it. This one is actually going to have 3 little characters on it a little bit later. And then right after that, going over the other 2 pieces, is the swirling hill along with Jack and Sally. Now, I did not put Jack and Sally on there. I just kind of used them as a guide to make sure that the hill went on there centered and the characters were on there centered as well. And in order to bind the entire thing together, one last smaller dark hill was placed on there. This one again has little tombstones all over it and gates, which is reflective of the original artwork from the movie. And if I was to do this again, I would try to move the entire design, I think, up the cup further. Instead of having those hills quite so far down, I would maybe move the entire thing up about an inch so that stuff is a little bit more eye level. And next up is Jack and Sally, and thankfully, because I had positioned them the way that I want, they actually went on there pretty well, and I got them on there, no issue. I think they look really, really good. They're centered in the hill. And then the last of, I guess, the characters themselves are those three little trolley characters. Locke, Jacques, and Meryl, I think, were their names. They were like little kid creature things, but they like ran around with Oogie Boogie. So that's what I remember about them. And I didn't show it, unfortunately, but I did actually end up adding Michaela's name in the glow-in-the-dark vinyl to the back of this cup. I was initially planning to put the logo on there in the glow-in-the-dark vinyl, but unfortunately, that vinyl just could not cut anything with any kind of sharper corners. It's much more, it can cut a round shape, but other than that, don't even bother with it. But I found a font that has a very round sort of look to it, and I cut her name out in the glow-in-the-dark vinyl, and I placed it on there just after I did all of this. And at this point, I had a little bit of unfinished looking vinyl and glitter at the bottom, so I just took some black paint and I painted over some of the rougher areas as far as like color. I wish I had done this with a Sharpie, and I think the next time go around I would do this with a Sharpie. So I just added 2 more layers of epoxy to the cup, sanding in between, and I've started doing a wet sanding technique where I use, I believe, a 220 grit sandpaper wet, and then I follow it up with a 1400 grit sandpaper. Quite a difference. I probably could have a step in between, but for right now I just don't. But what I do right now seems to actually really work on getting the epoxy to come out nice and smooth. So again, I just did 2 layers of epoxy, sanding in between and then cleaning out the inside. And this is the final cup, and I absolutely love it. It's really beautiful. It might possibly be my magnum opus, the nicest cup I will ever make, just because of how involved it was and just the different layers of stuff going on, I suppose. But it was really cool because I was a little concerned that it wasn't going to glow very brightly, but as you can see, it glows really, really brightly. It's absolutely amazing. I know Michaela's going to like it. So that's it for that cup, and I guess I will follow this up with some pictures. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.